Hello and welcome everybody to week 4 of the SPL. My name is LHS and I'm going to be your host for today, and joining me on the desk is Anatoly.
I'm really excited to be here today. We got some hot European action week 4 out of 5.
Before we jump into that action though, we got a sale going on this weekend. 50% off select skins for Father's Day. Put your best daddy skin on.
You know, I don't have a father, but either way, I'm going to pretend like I do when I try to get some more of these nice skins.
Definitely. You gotta participate in the skin sales when you can, because you don't know when those skins are going to be back on sale.
It's only for a limited time, and only for a limited time is going to be DreamHack Valencia. That's what all these teams are playing for.
We got 4 spots for EU, 3 for NA, and 1 for South America. Actually, with EU, technically only 3 since Dignitas qualified.
But the question is, where exactly will Dignitas finish after weeks 4 and 5? They're currently sitting at first place and looking very strong currently in the standings.
Dignitas is definitely in first place, but following them very closely, we've got NRG, we've got Obey, and we have Rival, all very hot on their heels.
They're all tied at 9 points each, looking very pretty getting towards Valencia, but Enix right underneath of them with 7 points. Could play spoiler there is Elevate right underneath of them, as that's going to be that 4th matchup of the day. Then the 2 challenger circuit teams, Poppies and Burrito, not really surprising to see that they're at the bottom of the pack.
Right, they've looked a little rough, but they have been improving every game. Let's take a look at our schedule for today. We've got Obey Alliance versus Burrito. We've got Team Dignitas and Team Rival. NRG versus Poppies, and ending the day is that spoilery matchup of Enix versus Elevate.
Enix versus Elevate should be a really interesting one, but the first one of the day, Obey Alliance versus Burrito. It could be a lopsided matchup here because obviously Burrito is struggling. The challenger circuit team, Obey Alliance, looking so strong, winning the whole Spring Masters.
Obey is just one of those teams where across the board, they are just, firing on all cylinders. You've got Ataraxia. He's been playing very, very well. EmilZy's one of the better supports. PrettyPriMe, probably the best mid. And then you've got CaptainTwig and maniaKK holding down that right side of the lane. They are just, as a unit, playing so well.
When I look at this team, I always can see signs of brilliance between every single member. From game to game, it's somebody different within this team that's just going to step up to the plate and knock it out of the field.
I think that's Obey's biggest strength right now, is you don't know who's going to have the monster game. You don't know whether Ataraxia is going to go 5-0 in the first 12 minutes. You don't know whether Prime is just going to play out of his mind. He's got this Morrigan pick that he loves, and whoever you try to ban out, ultimately somebody else steps up.
It's just not about all the playstyle. It's also about the theory crafting behind the scenes. Hazer, for what he's done for this team, has been so brilliant to be able to take this team that's made it to the 2nd place in Worlds last year, to having such a dominant performance in the spring split, and now still strong in the summer.
On the other hand, we have Burrito, who've looked all right. They've kind of struggled in the beginning, but every set they've looked better and better. They've had games against these top EU teams, and they've played up to their competition.
They definitely have signs of mechanical prowess within them. They're able to make some of these raw talent skills, like you can see DeathPanter just hitting through space and time through a couple of walls. But the question is, how can they start converting some of these advantages in the early game? Because a lot of these teams they've been playing against have been allowing them to get these plays off them, but then coming back in the end game anyway.
That has been Burrito's biggest weakness, is getting those early leads, but then not knowing what to do with those leads. They've been allowing these teams to kind of fight back into the games, and you can't really do that at this level.
I would have to agree with you, which is why if I'm going to predict this matchup, I have to give it to Obey Alliance 2-0 here. They're just looking too strong. There's no signs of really stopping since they won the spring split.
Obey is just playing brilliantly, and like you said, they are just a brilliant squad. The theory crafting, the communication, the synergy, Obey 2-0. I don't think that you can say it any other way.
Just complete dominance out of them, I believe. But the second one, it's going to be a very interesting slobber knocker.
Dignitas versus Rival. Rival wanting to get into Valencia, they've got to find a win here if they want to control their own destiny going into the land.
Rival is the team that's really surprised me since Season 3 and Season 4 when they were formerly known as Cyclone GG, but now just looking so dominant, being led by Callister out of the support position. And interestingly enough, in this matchup, Callus subbed for Trixtank back in the Paradigm days for the DreamHack in Sweden. He's been able to fill in that role, the plug-and-play, very easily because of how much of a similar playstyle he has. He loves to engage the same exact way. He'll have no fear to be diving that backline.
Callus is fearless, and he brings a lot of control with him. A lot of zoning in that support role, especially with his Fafnir. He loves his dragon.
He absolutely does, and he always thinks objectively. Not only does he go Fafnir for the objective control with the Coerce, but he builds into that Girdle relic to be able to really synergize with the rest of his teammates to burn some of these objectives. And I wouldn't be surprised if Rival get off to some early Gold Furies.
Then you throw that Gem of Isolation on the Fafnir, and then everybody gets that slow. Fafnir's just such a strong pick right now. And then on the other side, you've got Trix. Trix has been around for a little while. He's been playing very well, and he brings a lot of the same things to the team that Callus does for Rival.
Both of them have great communication skills here, especially if you look at Trixtank and the rest of his teammates there. It's really hard to control some of the pieces around him, but such a veteran as Trixtank, he's been through the ringer here, so he knows how to really coordinate with his teammates to find such a dominating amount of victories in this split.
When it comes to Trix and Callus, what do they bring to their teams respectively?
It's just all about the way they engage there. They're always looking for these sneaky opportunities to go in. They're going to be waiting around corners, waiting behind the mid-harpy walls to be able to get into the thick of things.
All right, so this should be a really close matchup. Dignitas Rival, how do you see this shaking up?
I don't expect Rival to get 2 victories here, but I'm either going to give it a 2-0 to Dignitas or a split here, because Rival, you can never truly count them out, but the way Dignitas has been playing thus far, I wouldn't be surprised if they 2-0.
I mean, Dignitas to this point has only dropped a single game, and that was this Thursday to NRG. But like you said, if anybody can kind of be the spoilers for Dignitas, it's going to be Rival. I think we're either looking at a 2-0 for Dignitas or a split with Rival being able to pick up a game.
It should be an interesting matchup, but the third one is going to be another interesting one because a struggling Poppies against a ramped up Energy.
The Poppies have come out, and every week, just like Burrito, they have shown that they have some skill, that they are making plays, they're learning. But on the other hand, you've got NRG, and NRG is just regaining momentum. They are, much like their actual play style, they kind of start off a little slow, and then towards the mid to the late game, they are just monsters.
Whether it's between Season 2, Season 3, 3 and 4, or between spring and summer, Energy, it takes a little bit of time to get used to the shifting meta, but now, as we're approaching week 4 out of 5 here in the SPL, Energy are stepping up their game. They're getting closer and closer to clinching their spot towards Valencia, and I don't expect them to slow down here against the Poppies.
They shouldn't slow down, but I mean, we've seen some crazy things happen. We've seen NRG take the missteps and, you know, drop games or like potentially drop games where it looks like they should, you know, handily win, especially with this season.
Well, absolutely, but the way they performed last week here, it's just been so surgical. They're making these small little incisions against their opposition, and they're making the game last about 30 minutes or so, to the point where they just control every pace of the game. They're not going to try to invade your buffs if they don't have to. They're going to allow them, the opposition, to maybe take that risky play and then counter-rotate and punish them completely.
And it's going to be a fight of two different styles. You've got a very calculated, a very surgical, like you said, with NRG. And then the Poppies, they just want to fight. They just want to punch you in the face. They want to look for every moment to aggress that they can.
You got to do what you know. And obviously, the Poppies, they know how to team fight. They've been playing the game for quite a while as well in the Challenger Circuit team. They have the mechanics necessary to get a lead. The question is, can they convert this early game lead towards the later stages of the game? My prediction is no, they can't. And NRG is going to 2-0 here.
The games where we see the Poppies win are when Oho Boom kind of goes off. NRG's going to know that. They're going to shut him down. I think it's a 2-0 for NRG.
I think so too. Not only Oho Boom, but Dalo needs to get off to that early start if they want some wins.
All right, and then finishing off the day, we've got Enix and Elevate in that spoiler matchup. Elevate could ruin the hopes of Valencia for Enix.
Enix sitting at 7 points right now in that 5th position. Only 4 European teams will make it. Elevate are sitting at that 6 with 4. I don't think they have a mathematical chance to get in, but either way, they're a team that can find a lot of splits, whether it's this one or the previous ones, they've always known to be taking some of these games against top-tier teams.
And if we look at last week, Funballer played out of his mind. He's been playing very well this entire split, but last week was just the culmination of everything. He kind of carried this team on his back, even if they lost.
It doesn't matter what god he's honestly playing, whether it's the Rom or the Hu-Yi, he's always going to be looking for those flashy highlight plays, and he's been able to also peel it back and slow it down since the beginning of his Hunter days, as he usually loved to take fights. But we might see the old school Funballer come out this set here, because on the flip side, it's going to be Jermaine.
We're definitely going to look at a fun matchup between these two ADCs, as they both want to kind of fight. Jermaine, one half of the Bruise brothers, he's going to look to fight and punch you in the face anytime he can. I mean, ultimately, this is going to be like a solo lane matchup, but between ADCs.
Absolutely. These two glass cannon god styles between the Funballer and Jermaine. I wouldn't be surprised if one solos the other. It's going to be a question of who is going to be trying to prove more to the other here, because honestly, the way they've been playing, they've been known to also slow things down and just farm and chill, but could be some ego battles here in this one.
How do you think the supports play this game? I mean, obviously, these are two ADCs who are going to look to fight and look to box and look to farm. Are we going to see early rotations out of the lane by these two supports?
I'm actually expecting a lot of early rotations between both of these two supports, leaving Jermaine and Funballer to just do their own thing and just let them go at it each other. And this is why I got to give this set a split.
I would love to see Elevate split this. I would love to see Elevate make EU just a little more interesting. Not that EU's been interesting so far, you know, like we're seeing a lot of interesting plays last week, you know, game of the year probably between Enix and Rival. I would love to see a round 2 of that.
Oh, absolutely. This should be quite an interesting set.
All right, so let's throw it over to our casters for game number 1. That's it for us on the desk. Let's go to game number 1.
Thank you very much, guys. On the desk, here we are, Aggro and Taco here to bring you Obey versus Burrito. And Taco, this is a matchup that, as I said on the desk, looks very one-sided, but when you're getting down to the wire and there are this many teams in contention for Valencia, Obey cannot afford to drop a game here.
They really can't, and especially considering that Burrito are probably a team that had just been taking everything in stride, just using every lost set as an opportunity to develop and build themselves even further. So Obey really have to clench this one out.
I mean, we've seen it plenty of times during the Smite Pro League where these Challenger Cup teams come in and get dominated for a little bit towards the beginning of the split, but then they start to find their footing. See if Burrito can do it. Picks and bans ready for game number 1 between Obey and Burrito. And this is a team in Burrito that, as we mentioned, had some struggles towards the beginning of the split, but has always shown that flash of they might be able to compete with these guys.
Little flashes of hope, and I mean, I can imagine it's going to be very standard bans as well. Smart decisions all around, getting rid of Osiris and the Fafnir, trying to eliminate some of that early pressure that we've been so accustomed to seeing.
Cirquet, the other ban from Burrito. Remember, Obey took on the Poppies earlier on this split, and the Poppies gave them a really, really good game 1. Game 2, if I remember, was a little bit more like you'd expect, but Obey has shown that they can kind of fall down to the level of these teams if they don't respect them quite too much. And Burrito, they're going to first pick that Ganesh.
And Obey Alliance responding already with the Bellona pick, which, I mean, if there's a god I really don't want to see in the hands of Obey, I think Bellona is probably one of them. And that Morrigan as well. PrettyPrime's Morrigan has been pretty much disgusting.
It's phenomenal. I'm just excited to watch it because I always am. He's just so creative with that ultimate and a little bit different than some guys, some of the other EU mids like to play it. Lobster likes to play it very kind of forward, trying to get those stuns to initiate, but PrettyPrime a little bit more focused on using that ultimate correctly. Susano and Hu-Yi, the two selections on the other side from Burrito, pretty strong first 3 picks for Burrito, but Obey, they're going to lock in another comfort pick, Cernunnos for Ataraxia.
And Ataraxia's got to be feeling confident to lock that one in because Kern can kind of struggle against the Hu-Yi as far as the direct laning matchup is concerned. So I think that Burrito have a fairly strong draft already, combining those 3 gods together just because they're fairly safe. And I think when you're looking to take on one of the EU powerhouses, safe is probably your best bet.
I agree with you there. 2 mid bans from Obey, taking a shot at the mid laner, Sol and Isis, whereas Burrito, they spread it out a little bit. Robin to take away from Twig, Ares from EmilZy, but immediately for the Geb, a little bit more defensive than that offensive ban the Burrito went with, but can certainly fit with how aggressive maniaKK likes to be on this Bellona.
And that's why I love the Geb selection here, simply because, that's looking like a Hu-Yi middle now on the side of Burrito. I can't see that.
Couldn't be Freya mid? I mean, EU loves their Freya mid.
That's actually a fair op right there. It could potentially be Freya mid, just because it is EU.
Yeah.
But I would probably anticipate it going into the duo lane, even just because Burrito also loves the Hu Yi mid as well.
That's true. All right, Obey, they've got one pick left after Sun Wukong rounded out Burrito's draft. It's going to be that signature Naja there for CaptainTwig, ready to go in-game. Obey versus Burrito, and this is a draft of comfort picks for Obey. I mean, every single one down the line. The only one really that stands out to me that we haven't seen Obey play consistently is that Geb for EmilZy. He's been more the Fafnir, the Ares, the Terra, things like that. I don't know if we've seen him on Geb so far this split.
I like the Geb selection, though, simply because if you look at Obey's draft, yes, it's comfort picks, but it's also a lot of aggression and burst. So when you combine that Geb on top of it, the survivability options just open up the map even more, I would say.
Oh, it is going to be DeathPanter with that Hu Yi in the middle lane, looks like. And good ring toss early on from CaptainTwig. A little bit of a skirmish here in the middle lane. We're playing Assault right now. Fusify going to miss that dash, but either way, Obey going to be able to spread out, having gotten the better end of that poke trade.
Assault, but it's definitely Obey who's got a lot more potential to get the poke in early on. So I'm kind of surprised that Burrito really tried to take up that engagement, but already loving how everybody's kind of just dispersing, recognizing, hey, map's about to spawn, might as well get back to where we need to be.
But look at how much poke Panther and Dzoni have already taken. PrettyPriMe, not the best clear early on with the Morrigan. Takes a little bit to get going, but that's what CaptainTwig on the Naja is here for. But Twig taking a lot of damage early on, and that's going to be first blood for Burrito out of nowhere. Twig just ended up tanking those minions a little bit too much.
Tanking the minions, and I think he kind of got caught in the corner with that ricochet as well. So if he got hit with a double bounce, that would explain a lot of where his health went, because Naja's not exactly known for having the largest health bar early on.
Wow, early first blood going the way of Burrito, and that's not good looks for the side of Obey, because Naja is one of those characters that can be very feast or famine. You either can carry an early game entirely by yourself, or if you fall behind, it can be very difficult to be relevant until the later stages.
A little bit fickle, but knowing Twig, he'll probably play it a little bit more tuned back. You got to be careful, and that kind of just goes in with him being a little too confident facing off against Burrito. I really don't think that he was giving them enough respect there, kind of just like, I can still clear this wave even against this comp.
Well, he lost his speed buff for his transgressions. Oh no, excuse me, he did get his own speed buff. maniaKK getting pretty poked out on this right-hand side. No blue buff for either him or Sibi quite yet. Now Twig starting to rotate over to this right side. Going to give maniaKK a little bit of help, just relieving some pressure. No real kill opportunity here, but just making sure that he can use those cleave auto attacks to heal up a little bit with the Death Toll.
Yeah, maniaKK lost a little bit of that lane pressure because he tried to make that rotation to look for the potential speed buff steal. So when that happens, it gave Sibi all the opportunities in the world to just push that wave as hard as possible, and ended up working out for Sibi, but I mean, playing catch-up won't be too hard maniaKK on the Bellona. Yeah,
I mean, Sun Wukong can kind of hold his own in that lane anytime he wants. Bellona is going to be doing Bellona things, you know, bullying you out a little bit, but there's a reason we've seen some more Wukong in the meta as of late. Nice silence there by Fusify, but on the right-hand side, another brawl going on. Both teams down below about 50% HP in terms of their solo and jungle. Dzoni looping back around. No one level 5 quite yet, but you'd assume Johnny's going to be hitting 5 first with that assist on the first blood earlier.
Dzoni, I really like what he's doing as well, hanging around the solo lane side so much, because you know aggressive maniaKK display. Speaking of aggression, Kespainify is in a lot of trouble, but the whoop is good.
Whoop, a double whoop there is going to find it, but Johnny's going to find a kill for Burrito on the right side of the map. That's number 2 for them early on in this game. As I mentioned, Dzoni didn't even need his Typhoon, even though he did hit level 5. maniaKK being level 4, no chance to get away.
Not used to seeing that one, just aggression both sides all around. And I mean, normally I'm not a huge fan of Freya in that duo lane, but Kespainify showing he's got enough to bite back.
And that's one of those things that if Freya's meta, then a team is going to know, okay, don't group up, because we're going to get double whooped. But when you haven't played against Freya in a competitive setting for, you know, who knows how long, it can be really easy to forget how she saves her own life consistently. That, to me, just looks like a little bit of rust facing off against this god.
Plus, Ataraxia just saw red. When you dash in that aggressively, you are looking only for the kill and the kill alone.
Ricochet gonna hit onto CaptainTwig, but he's gonna turn it around immediately with that Windfire wheels. maniaKK waiting on the bottom as Dzoni gets low, but he's gonna be able to escape. Don't know if I'll be able to say the same about Twig. He's in a lot of trouble, and he's gonna fall. The second kill for DeathPanter on that mid lane Hu Yi. That 3v3 that Obey wanted to take ends up going in Burrito's favor.
Hu Yi's pretty nutty. I absolutely love Hu Yi in the mid lane, and I think that the main thing here, he's got the mark, so he knows exactly where PrettyPriMe is, and that was actually something I was just about to bring up, is that Morrigan's one of those guys you want to use your invis on to try and catch somebody off guard, but against the Hu-Yi, that can be a little bit more difficult to do because he can translate to his team anywhere that PrettyPrime's looking to go if he has that mark on him.
Exactly. So you got a little bit of counterplay there, as well as just some strong mid lane control. I agree with you. I think Hu-Yi is kind of undervalued as one of the good mid lane hunters. You know, let's talk about some of the other ones like Neith comes to mind. We've seen a lot of Cernunnos mid recently on her sometimes, but Hu-Yi, his mid-camp control is really solid with the Ricochet, and his early clear is decent enough, especially whenever you've got your jungler like a Susano with you to help.
And DeathPanter's playing this really greedy because of the fact that he secured that first blood. He was able to start the Transcendence Rush. When he gets that online, sure, he won't have the mobility that he wants, but Twig being a little bit more behind leaves him open to not necessarily have to worry as much about the gank potential coming through.
And the right side of the map definitely kept down by Burrito right now. The 3 deaths for Obey. They're 2 on the jungler, 1 on the solo laner. That's a pretty good look because now that means Kespainify probably not going to be under a whole lot of pressure from CaptainTwig, at least through the early to mid-game stages. And there's a reason we've seen Fusify really stick alongside that Freya in the duo lane so far, but may not even need to with how far behind Twig is.
And Sibi feeling, I think that was a little bit of a panic ult there, kind of just concerned that Twig would be looking for the all-in on him. I like the choice for safety.
But it's Obey getting those fire elementals off of that pressure, getting that ultimate out of the Burrito solo laner, and things like getting fire elementals with your team, even when splitting, is a great way to get yourself back when you're behind as a jungler. Look at Twig, he's now the same level as Dzoni and only down about 200 gold.
Obey having control of the fire elementals too is the main reason why we don't see as much of a gold disparity between these two teams after Burrito has already secured 3 kills.
That's a great point, not a big lead.
Wow.
Nice triple Ricochet there. Takes about half health off of PrettyPrime. No innate sustain in that kit either, so Prime just gonna have to hold that deficit on the health bar, though probably gonna be backing soon, yeah, right now, to finish off those boots. maniaKK and Sibi still going at it on this right-hand side. Sibi can't quite interrupt the bludgeon in time. maniaKK still taking a lot of damage from those archers and just gets up and over that Master's Will in time.
You can tell that Sibi wants to hang around, see if he can find the solo kill, but he's going to have to back off because of CaptainTwig's showing his face. But man, that is just so unfortunate for Sibi to not pick up that solo kill. That would have been massive for Burrito.
That's what I was going to bring up just before that, is that even though there isn't a huge goal disparity, Ataraxia is in trouble on this left-hand side. Going to be able to get out of danger, though, with a nice well-timed dash. EmilZy's coming in, has that blink, double Cataclysm there. Kespainify uses the beads to get out of it, and now tries to turn it around. DeathPanter's here as well. Throws the Mark of the Crow onto EmilZy, but a really good wild hunt. Make sure that there's no additional follow-up.
But Burrito haven't been keeping tabs of who's coming. They're trying to get out just now, but CaptainTwig's already locked onto Fusify. Probably be taking him up into the air real soon.
There's the whoop there. PrettyPrime transforms into the Bellona, but immediately gets shredded down. DeathPanter with his 3rd kill. Now Twig finds the ultimate, has one locked up there. It's Dzoni. He's going to come down into a lot of damage from Ataraxia. He's going to put Obey on the board for the first time this game. Sibi is here, but a little bit too late to impact the fight.
But even still, that turnaround, and then in the secondary turnaround, both excellent responses by these teams.
Sibi disrupting the enemy backline. EmilZy gonna have to shield himself, but Sibi's the one who has to run, just able to get up into that somersault cloud. Twig getting chased down. Knockup's good from DeathPanter, but maniaKK's there. No, Sibi's the one to come down crashing with that somersault cloud. 5 now for Burrito. Sibi puts himself on the board.
The aggression from Burrito has been absolutely insane this game, and it's really not aggression that I was looking towards. I figured they would maybe try and play a little bit more slow pace, but sometimes playing this aggressive is what you need to do against these teams and just catch them as off guard as possible.
I completely agree with you. I think that you want to turn this game into an organized, clown fiesta, basically. If you're a team like Burrito, you want to get Obey moving all over the place. Make sure that they can't use their good synergy, their chemistry, their communication that they've been working on longer than Burrito has to their advantage. You want to make it basically a team deathmatch to bait them into playing your style of game.
I mean, even in that dual lane engagement where we saw 4 and 5 members trying to just all jump in for Burrito and Obey, I was kind of surprised that maniaKK chose to not pursue 3 members that were a little bit lower, trying to just run back to the T1 tower lines, that he just fell back to the rest of Obey to secure Dzoni. But typically we'll see maniaKK being the one doing the over-aggressive playstyle, so it's really nice seeing Burrito take that up themselves, but like as a whole unit.
They've doing a really good job so far. We're almost 9 minutes in. Burrito has a lead in kills pretty handily, up by 4, but again, look at that gold difference. Negligible. I mean, no XP difference at all. And about 200 gold, I mean, that's nothing.
And that's really just inexperience, I would say, on the side of Burrito. They don't know how to farm.
Oh, there's the Blink Cataclysm from EmilZy. DeathPanter, I don't think he even had the beads. No, he did. Didn't get a chance to get them off. That's a clean pick for Obey. That actually puts them in the lead. That's a huge kill bounty that just went down with DeathPanter falling.
That was a massive choice, and now Sibi could be getting a little caught off guard here. CaptainTwig, though, just showing himself is enough to force that ultimate out of Sibi.
Earlier on, Sibi was getting the better end of this matchup, but if he continues to be a little bit late interrupting that bludgeon from maniaKK, I don't think it's going to go his way much longer. Now that that bludgeon is starting to get some more points into it, or the Scourge, whatever maniaKK is leveling, doesn't really matter. It's going to be more damage that Sun Wukong can't heal up that Bellona can.
I think Burrito are also relying pretty heavily on Kespainify coming online. It takes a little bit of time for this Freya to really vamp up, and I mean, a lot of that's just waiting for the Fatalis and Bancrofts to come online.
Ataraxia is going to get ganked here, but no, Fusify going to let him go. No real kill potential there either way, I don't think, and so Kespainify and Fusify head their way back into the jungle. They're going to meet up with Twig and PrettyPriMe. Silence onto Twig, no chance for him to use the sash or the ring bounce, but now it's Obey who want to push forward a little bit further. EmilZy doesn't have his ultimate quite yet, but the blink is going to be on cooldown another 45 seconds as the focus is onto these oracles. They get pulled back in Burrito's favor. They're going to both go Burrito's way. Fusify getting a little bit low, and PrettyPrime's going to transform into that Bellona, putting some pressure onto Fusify, but a good whoop from Kespainify keeps Twig off.
And that silence from Fusify as well onto maniaKK to prevent the bludgeon damage. That was also excellently timed. Now Sibi's trying to get the engagement going, but EmilZy just pushed him into 3.
There's the knockup and the Cataclysm. Sibi can't get his ultimate off, didn't even have it in case he could have. Another kill goes Obey's way, and that time Sibi just goes a little bit too deep.
And now Fusify doesn't want to mess around. maniaKK trying again to look for that aggression. Solid stun from DeathPanter to prevent his support having to tank all that damage. But either way, I think Sibi's getting a little bit too excited when he sees these engagements happening. He thinks this is a solid corridor, let me knock everybody up, but doesn't really pay attention to the fact that there could be people on the backside.
And we talked about it earlier on, Obey was getting the better end of these neutral objectives, and that's why, despite, again, being down in kills, they're ahead in gold. And that's what you expect from a veteran team. That, you know, they've been pushed and pulled around a little bit. Burrito's done a good job in terms of the brawls, but there's the separation between a team that is likely to make DreamHack Valencia and a team that still needs a lot of stuff to work on, and that of Burrito. Gold Fury started by the blue side, but EmilZy and PrettyPriMe know what's going on. EmilZy has Blink, but no Cataclysm for the moment, but it's still enough to force Burrito off of it.
They can't pressure this. I think that they really need that damage from DeathPanter and the ultimate, but he doesn't even have that available right now. I can see Burrito looking to keep trying to play aggressive on this Gold Fury simply because it's so easy for them to secure it.
Ataraxia sitting level 13, a level up on Kespainify for the time being, and that's kind of what you expect with how much Kespainify has split. Look at the difference in net worth. Ataraxia, he's at the top, 6,700. Kespainify's all the way at the bottom, and that's a huge difference. I mean, the Oracles have kind of been split both ways. We've seen both teams get some, but with Fusify being in that lane so often, it's really hurt the farm from Freya.
Fusify's got his gold up because he's been hanging out in that dual lane for so long, but he needs to be splitting more waves with the mid lane, or even potentially just looking to roam the map better to secure the smaller objectives like the fire elementals and stuff. Well, he can't anymore for the fire elementals, but early on, he needed to be making those rotations because putting Fusify behind against somebody like Ataraxia, who's already secured 2 kills on the side of Obey, that's a little bit concerning.
It really is. He's certainly got that lead in the duo lane, and Traveler Shoe's a big reason why EmilZy's so far ahead of Fusify. But I agree with you. I think with the lead that DeathPanter got early on, some may make the argument that you want to leave him alone then, continue to give him the solo farm and build that lead, but I think there's an equal argument to be made that you want to make sure that he can spread that wealth a little bit and allow Kespainify to flourish because of it.
Plus, Ataraxia picked up the Boom Buzz, which means that he has been looking to solo clear his own buffs, and I'm sure that Obey have been more than happy to let him have away at that purple.
maniaKK, EmilZy, and Twig in the neighborhood, so Burrito get off the Portal Demon. Just a little bit of a response time test there from them. Kespainify takes an aggressive path again, and then Dzoni finds forward and finds the Wind Siphon onto EmilZy. No real follow-up on that, though. And just a little bit of poke traded back and forth with Ataraxia still hanging out on the left side jungle. Obey didn't really want to take an outnumbered fight.
Solid ring toss, though, by CaptainTwig. I think Burrito didn't want to worry about that.
There's the blink engage onto Dzoni, but a quick purification beam gets him out. Now EmilZy's the one in a lot of trouble, locked right on top of those Dharmic pillars, and Fusify does most of the work himself. DeathPanter gets a double kill in that mid lane, finding Twig as well. Twig never found the time to use the ultimate, and Burrito finds 2 clean picks in the mid.
And again, Sibi trying to take out that aggressive pathing, looking to force out Ataraxia and PrettyPriMe, just keep him in that mid lane. Meanwhile, the Gold Fury's happening. Obey know what's happening, but there's nothing they can do to respond to that.
No chance to stop it. That's Burrito's Gold Fury, and that's going to put them back in the lead for the time being. Obey has transitioned their focus to this right-hand side, and maniaK's ultimate will help secure that Portal Demon. So a little bit of gold goes back Obey's way, brings that gold lead back to right around even. But a really strong team fight from Burrito in mid. Was it Burrito's good team fight, or was it Obey finding the wrong engagement?
That was just the Dharmic Pillars placement. That was an excellent placement by Fusify. Trapped CaptainTwig alongside of the wall, so he was taking a decent chunk of health from that. And then EmilZy was just CC locked for eternity.
It was a beautiful play by Fusify. I think that's one of the tech, if you will, from Ganesh that we haven't seen too much quite yet, being one of the newer gods. But if you can do that stun knock-up right on top of one of the Dharmic pillars, I mean, it's not the shake and bake, but it's close.
Plus, Dzoni had an excellent pull onto EmilZy when he was trying to get his rollout in effect. So that was also really well executed by Dzoni to just recognize that and immediately look to counter-engage.
3-man grouping from Obey in the mid lane. Dzoni gonna be forced back. No real farm on the map for either team, just the purple buffs up. Not even any back camps, so this is going to be a period of just farming up the waves and waiting for your buffs to respawn. Burrito is basically tied through 16 minutes with Obey. Need to find some invades in order to start to get a gold lead going, but when a game is this close, it can be difficult to find those 5-on-5 engagements.
Plus, I think Obey are going to be playing it a little bit tighter now, considering that they've had a couple of engages. That wasn't the first time that an engage went completely south for them. That's like the second or third time this match already that EmilZy has looked for those blink cataclysms, and it just has gone awry.
Dzoni gonna find the no pull on the maniaK on that right side. Takes a little bit more than he gave, courtesy of maniaK solo lane tier 1 tower. If you're Burrito right now, do you just want to try and force fights no matter what? Because Burrito's gotten the better end of almost every single team fight. It's just been that the neutral farm from Obey has been better.
Forcing fights is great for Burrito right now, just because I think it really is just so unexpected that Obey haven't always had the best responses to it. But Burrito also need to be careful that they're not just fighting all the time and completely neglecting farming.
Well, I think that you can make the argument that Burrito wants to fight all the time just so that Obey isn't farming, right? That's where Obey has been beating them overall. So if you just make them fight you, then they aren't farming better than you, and so you can stay where you are basically even. But I don't disagree that I think Obey is just going to try and prevent the team fights, because you're right, they probably recognize they haven't been winning them themselves.
And take a look at DeathPanter's build. That is a lot of power already for the Hu-Yi. Not only did he build the actual Transcendence, but he went with the bootleg one as well, having an additional 70 power with that Shifters.
That's a ton of power. Not a lot of attack speed, though. We talk about it all the time with Hu-Yi having a low base attack speed. But I kind of like the idea to just go all in on the power route. No Ninja Tab Eye, going pure damage with the abilities and the auto attacks, but you got to make sure they're counting if you're not getting any additional ones with attack speed.
And that's pretty much what DeathPanter is going to be looking for every single time in the mid lane, just abusing the, I guess, geometry of the map as much as possible, because if you can find the double or triple ricochet bounces onto any of the squishy targets like Prime, Twig, Ataraxia, even whenever the team fights are breaking out, that's a solid chunk of health they're going to be missing.
And PrettyPriMe is pretty far behind in terms of just outright power output that he's going to be able to do in comparison to DeathPanter. I mean, look at Prime's build. He's got boots and a Spear of Desolation, whereas those are one pretty expensive item in the Transcendence for DeathPanter. Shifter Shield going to be getting more expensive pretty soon with the next patch, but that's not a lot of gold he had to invest for that 70 power.
I would like to see a Chins potentially on the side of DeathPanter though, just to help out with chunking away whenever the Geb Shields start coming into play.
Are you worried about his lack of attack speed though if he were to go that route?
Yes.
Ooh.
And the Aegis.
Both relics used by DeathPanter there for no ultimates and no relics.
I'm kind of surprised he used the Aegis there.
I think he was trying to predict the instant ult from CaptainTwig off of the jump to prevent the initial damage, but This allows Burrito to find that tier 1 tower on the left-hand side, at least likely. Dzoni's there trying to find it, eventually will, but EmilZy's shown up now, and it's going to be Obey's fight. Ataraxia finds Dzoni to start it off. Kespainify uses his Aegis, but Twig waits it out for the moment. That should make Kespainify fall. Indeed, it will. 2 kills quickly, the side of Obey, as the rest of Burrito are trying to get Fusify out. They will not succeed. maniaK's going to claim his first of the game, and now Obey nearly evens the kill total, 7-6.
They're getting collapsed on so heavily, and they're just going to fall back on the side of Obey. There's really no need for them to keep pushing in unless Burrito keep trying to fight back into it. But with maniaK now present, there's no way they can choose to keep this engagement going.
One of the worst possible times to get picked for Burrito. Gold Fury just respawned, and they've only got 2 members, and just as Obey did whenever Burrito was doing the Gold Fury, Burrito's going to head towards that Portal Demon, knowing that that Gold Fury is all but gone. Big swing in Obey's favor right there.
Solid stop by DeathPanter to prevent maniaK from aggressing onto him immediately, but they just could not secure that Portal Demon by themselves because of the fact that they knew PrettyPriMe and maniaK were both present to prevent that from happening. And I think that that was just a little bit too greedy from Burrito, looking to all in that T1 tower.
Just took a little bit too much time, I think, and a lot of that is due to the fact that you've got a Freya in that lane. You're used to having a Hunter over there. You've got 3 members on the left side. Yeah, we can totally get that tower, but you don't have that tower push capability that you do from a standard Hunter. And you also have to give shoutouts to Obey. That was a great job of forcing DeathPanter back. DeathPanter is without a doubt the biggest threat to Obey right now. Now you can make the argument that Kespainify is right there with him after completing the Fatalis, but with DeathPanter forced back and with no relics, Obey knew that that fight was going to be fairly easy to take.
And Burrito, they need to be tactical now about their engagements. Aggressive, yes, but also tactical. They need to try and force these narrow corridor fights in the jungle because they want as much DPS as possible from Kespainify and DeathPanter, which fighting inside the jungle will allow them to do.
And this is pretty standard Obey. I mean, they've for a long time, even before during Season 3, when they had Frezzy in that support role and Variety in the solo lane, they had plenty of games where it was close. They were kind of losing a little bit, and all of a sudden 18 to 20 minutes hits and they turn it on. They hit the light switch, and it's exactly what they've done so far in this game. Right after the 20-minute mark, they're up about 3,000 gold, with Burrito really having won the majority of team fights before this.
And another concern that Burrito has is with Blinks being online for EmilZy and CaptainTwig, they never really know who's going to be the engagement factor.
That's true. I mean, you have 2 Blink engagements and a lot of counter engage as well. maniaK can start an engagement with that Eagles rally. Plenty to do for Burrito, whereas their engagement is Dzoni finding a Wind Siphon after a jet stream. That's kind of about it. Maybe a whoop from Kespainify.
And DeathPanter, I think he was a little bit concerned about his attack speed as well, opting for the Odysseus bow as opposed to a Chinzran Executioner.
I kind of like it. I mean, it's just 40% attack speed and spreads that big power number all across the team fight. Does make him lack a little bit right now, but a huge Blink Cataclysm from EmilZy, but DeathPanter's ultimate zoned everyone else away, and now EmilZy's the one caught. DeathPanter's gonna find him. Now a maniaK's in the fight, trying to turn it around. Sibi's getting control of the backside, but he's gonna be able to get his ultimate off, and Obey now trying to get on the run. PrettyPriMe already used his ultimate. Kespainify trying to finish off Ataraxia, and will do so. Dzoni's got a blink of his own, blinks forward. Not enough to find the kill quite yet, but wrapping around the back, looking for PrettyPriMe. Forces out the Aegis, but a great response there from Burrito.
And that was just perfectly timed by Burrito. It looked like it was going to be a horrible engagement for them simply because DeathPanter had dropped his ultimate to clear out that wave, but ended up working as a zoning factor as well.
maniaK is toast. Dzoni gonna put double digits for Burrito, and they're gonna get the tier 2 tower here, Taco. Burrito looking very, very strong against Obey. As we mentioned coming into this game, Obey can't really afford, I mean, they aren't eliminated by any means if they don't find this 2-0, but it makes their chances at Valencia a lot harder. They've got to play Dignitas next week.
And Dignitas is not a team that you want to put all of your eggs into as far as baskets are concerned, but man, that was, it's crazy because it really just plays back into Burrito being that team, coming from relegations, not really having a whole lot of expectations as far as public perception or even pro perception is concerned. And you can just tell that the time that they've spent in the SPL this split has really helped them as far as shaping into a better team.
Really impressive stuff out of them, up 10-6 right there in terms of gold with Obey, but you can feel that Burrito has the momentum, at least for the time being. As we mentioned there, in that last engagement under the tier 1 tower in mid, DeathPanter drops the ult to clear the wave, but it ends up creating a perfect zone. EmilZy blinks forward, finds it a phenomenal cataclysm, but no one was home. No one was there to follow up, and it was a great focus job by Burrito to just knock him down immediately.
I think that Obey, we're expecting to all look to dive that tower, not really too concerned. I don't think that EmilZy would have made that play had the call not been made from Obey to go in. They just expected they'd be able to follow up. It was the Dharmic Pillars that followed up immediately after, and then on top of that, the burst damage from Kespainify, because the Freya is hitting pretty hard right now. Once you get that Bancross Fatalis online, you start swinging away with your 2-1 combination. So when you add all of those factors together, I think that if Obey keep taking up fights like that, they're going to end up dropping this game.
I mean, Obey's got to find an answer to this zone control that Burrito has so far. As you mentioned, not only the Suns from Huyi, but the Dharmic Pillars have been huge as we get back right into game after a short pause between Burrito and Obey. And this one, I mean, PrettyPriMe has not been able to make an impact so far in this game. He's below EmilZy in terms of player damage, sitting at 0, 1, and 3. Now he's got that percent penetration online. Already had some flat pen with the Spear of Desolation. But you really need PrettyPriMe to start making an impact with these Changeling ultimates.
And now Burrito looking to play the aggressive route yet again onto this T1 tower. I think they're going to be able to shred it, but Twig has other things in mind, forcing the ultimate already out of Kespainify.
But he used his own ultimate in response, so that's actually a win, I would say, for Burrito. That tier 1 tower is going to fall. Kespainify really timed that ultimate well, didn't use the beads in response to that sash.
And I think Fire Giant is what's really going to determine who comes out on top of this game. Burrito have to be so careful about when they choose to engage onto that Fire Giant, because if they don't secure that, it's going to be a rip all around.
Burrito making their way towards the Gold Fury. Just going to pull the Oracles for the time being. EmilZy is rolling forward, has the Blink Cataclysm available. Stays out of combat for the time being. Both maniaKK and Sibi still on that right-hand side. maniaKK lays down a sentry ward on the Fire Giant to make sure that if Obey want to go for a cheeky little Fire Giant play, they could. EmilZy is all alone, gonna find that 3-man Cataclysm, and maniaKK's right there to follow up. PrettyPriMe gonna transform and do his own maniaKK impression, getting ready to use his own Eagles Rally, but a great Typhoon out of Dzoni knocks out the entirety of Obey and forces the reset.
That was a great knockup, but the shell timing from EmilZy was even better, making sure that all of the members in Obey were actually caught into that shell, so the damage that they took was just significantly reduced.
All 10 ultimates on cooldown, at least for the time being. Gold Fury started up pretty low already. DeathPanter returns to the fight. Sibi in that backline. Kespainify still has the purification beads and uses them on CaptainTwig's artillery sash. In the backline is Sibi getting low, but his ultimate comes up at the right time. CaptainTwig whiffs the Windfire wheels, and immediately Burrito wants to take the engagement because of it. Double whoop coming out of Kespainify. Big damage onto CaptainTwig, and he's one shot. Dzoni's going to be able to finish him off. Kespainify up into the ultimate, can't quite find anybody else, but Dzoni can. Double kill for Burrito's jungler, and it's Burrito Esports taking it to Obey. maniaKK trying to do it all by himself, finds one, can't quite find the no, he can. He's going to be able to get out. Ataraxia finds Fusify, and Kespainify doing his best to chase him down. The egg is going to buy him a moment, turning his damage on Ataraxia, and Burrito going to turn it back. A back and forth seesaw fight. Burrito could end up on top, but Sibi can't quite find maniaKK.
maniaKK having his ultimate come up just in time to save his life, but that was such an insane fight, and I think that Burrito can actually lock down this Gold Fury. Only EmilZy around to contest. He does have his Cataclysm available.
But
oh, this could be bad news.
Teleport back in, and immediately Burrito gonna reset. Strong call there from the newcomers to the SPL. I thought you were right, though. I thought Burrito was gonna be able to get that Gold Fury, and that would have been a big swing in their favor. If there was any doubt about, Obey just isn't able to take these guys, just wasn't taking these guys seriously, the early game was kind of a fluke, I don't think you can really say that right now, because Burrito just absolutely had a great team fight right there. I mean, that was an absolute nail biter. Both teams going back and forth in that last engagement. And usually when in games like this, we see it every once in a while where a bottom-end team starts to do well against a top-end team, but, come to 27-minute team fights, the good team is gonna win these team fights, right? That's what everyone expects, but Burrito looks like the good team here too.
Really? maniaKK just came up insanely clutch in that last team fight for Obey, because if maniaKK hadn't helped clean up Dzoni and DeathPanter, that was 100% in Burrito's favor.
A quick portal demon goes down and it's going blue. Burrito secure it for themselves. That's a big one to get. Obey immediately trying to get that Gold Fury in response. Everyone on that right-hand side, and plenty of damage coming out of Ataraxia and PrettyPriMe. This is going to go down, Taco. No one here from Burrito, and that's got to hurt for them. Now it's Obey with that slight gold lead, but 2,000 gold at 28 minutes. Who cares?
You're not really turning your head at that one. I think that the Portal Demon has a lot more value to it than that gold lead that Obey just acquired from the Gold Fury, because now Burrito don't have to worry about the Gold Fury, and on top of that, they've got the Portal Demon to fall back to. So it's going to be the Fire Giant dance, and I said it a little bit earlier, I really think it's going to come down to who gets the first Fire Giant and what happens in the fight after.
And look at how many towers Burrito have knocked off the map. Obey have not claimed a Burrito tower quite yet. Burrito starts up that Fire Giant, falls it below 2/3 HP. Fusify gets knocked back, but again, EmilZy focused down. Big Cataclysm from him, and this time the burst isn't quite there to finish him off. It's Obey pushing forward, pushing back Burrito. Kespainify falls to maniaKK, and immediately Burrito realizes they cannot continue this fight. Sibi gonna bird form away, get himself to safety. And it's Obey's turn to look at the Fire Giant.
These shells have been absolutely insane from EmilZy. Just every single time dropping that shell to ensure that nobody around them is going to die. Sibi's trying to get in, look for the potential steal, but I think that this is all Obey's, and it is.
There it is, that first Fire Giant you were waiting for, Taco. It goes Obey's way, and I think that while that game plan of pulling in EmilZy when he's isolated and blowing him up before the rest of Obey could get in there worked phenomenally for the first 28.5 minutes of the game. But now that we're this late in, look at how many items EmilZy has completed. I mean, he's 5 items deep. Plenty of protection there for Obey's support. You just can't afford to invest that much into a Geb late game.
And the Spirit Robe as well, like that's just reducing so much crowd control on the side of Burrito. So EmilZy's kind of just walking away from that initial slow that was so devastating before from DeathPanter's ultimate. On top of that, Kespainify kind of suicided. I think that he was not really anticipating maniaKK's Thorns to pop back as much damage as it did, but that's one of those instances where you don't really want to try dropping as much damage as possible before you die.
Tier 1 tower is going to fall here without any contest from Burrito, but they feel like they can contest this Tier 2. Down about 4,000 gold, at least for the time being. Remember, Obey does have that Fire Giant. Fusify went for the preemptive silence to stop EmilZy's blink in. Kespainify is toast. Beautiful teamwork from Obey. EmilZy sets up Twig for the guaranteed ultimate. Dzoni gonna knock up maniaKK, but it just can't cut through that tanky solo laner at this stage in the game. PrettyPriMe gonna transform into Kespainify. There's only one Freya on the map now, and it's for Obey. Can't quite find the damage he was looking for, though, and so that ultimate gonna be a bit wasted. The rest of Obey is pushing down this mid-Phoenix while Dzoni and DeathPanter are trying to handle the frontliners on the left side.
And there's nothing they can do. Facing off against maniaKK and EmilZy, they're just entirely too tanky. That's the unfortunate aspect about a Bellona. She works great against this double hunter mentality.
Because of that disarm, preventing those auto attacks from coming through, and then the shield bash as well, returns some of that damage to those hunters. And the Freya, though, she's basically a hunter, let's be real. Thorns upgraded, certainly did work in that Fire Giant engagement, as you pointed out last time. Obey get that mid-Phoenix, they get the right side Tier 1, and now they're looking at the right side Tier 2. I said it as a positive earlier on that Obey had taken very few towers so far this game, but could also kind of work against you as Burrito, where Obey is about to get a big chunk of gold to spend.
I mean, it's already a 10K gold lead for Obey. That is a massive disparity now. Typically, you're not really paying too much attention to gold 30 minutes plus into a game, but when you get that gold all at once, that's when it becomes an issue, because now they've got the relic upgrades coming online. They've got the red pots coming online. Just all of the physical power boost that they're about to acquire, as well as PrettyPriMe just finishing off that heavier, potentially the Rod of Tahuti if he hasn't already acquired it.
Yeah, a lot of power spike items available for the side of Obey. It's going to be Polynomicon. PrettyPriMe did have the Rod of Tahuti already, so still plenty of burst damage added in with that poly. Guaranteed auto attack after the 3 aspects stun from the Morrigan, so certainly works with that build. Kespainify went for a slightly different route. Usually after the penetration item that comes after Fatalis, Freya's go for Rod of Tahuti right away. Instead, this Telkine's Ring, and I said it I believe it was Thursday on the cast, I think this is one of the more underrated items. Can really work well with Freya.
It can work exceptionally well with Freya. I mean, it was beforehand, when both of the rings used to be a little bit different, you would build the demonic and the Telkines together. Although it wasn't the most common route, people would still try it out just to see what would happen. And when it comes to Freya, really, she's known for just needing 4 to 3 items, and she'll pretty much chunk away at anything. It's just Burrito having such a difficult time trying to maneuver around this Get Bellona now that they're just so tanky. That's really giving Burrito too many issues.
And Telkines, of course, giving you extra magical power with each auto attack that you're hitting, so it adds up to something about over 100 power. It's a very, very high number. Synergizes well with Freya's kit. Burrito, they get the Portal Demon while Obey cleans up the final tower on the left side of the map and another Gold Fury. That's their third of the game. Basically everybody full build on Obey's side. Only maniaKK waiting to finish off. Oh no, he's got it. He's all over it. He's got a full build. It's only PrettyPriMe, I should say, who's still waiting to finish that 6th item.
Yeah, PrettyPriMe with the more expensive build. I mean, that's just the mage life, though, when you think about it. But
it really is. We should get coupons. We need discounts.
Discount codes?
Yeah. I hit a triple Kraken. My rod off to Hootie's 300 gold off. Seems good to me.
That's almost nothing. You're cheap.
Yeah, 300 gold, I'd take that. When I have to spend as much gold and I get very little gold as a mid laner, don't even get me started. I'm gonna get, I should just stop now. I'm gonna start ranting about how mid laners get no farm, no gold, and we have the most expensive
Just build
items.
some travelers.
No, then I don't do any damage and my team yells at me because my damage numbers aren't there.
But you have gold.
Yeah, but who cares? There's the Diamond Pillars from Fusify, but no real engagement after that. Dzoni gonna lose his Magi's Blessing. Twig misses the ultimate, but EmilZy does not. Kespainify already on the run. This Freya has been the late game focus for Obey. PrettyPriMe transforms into the Freya and puts some Valkyrie's Discretion shots into Burrito, who do a good job of disengaging until the whoop from PrettyPriMe, who is playing as Freya, catches Sibi in the 72 transformations. Big plays there out of Obey's mid laner. EmilZy rolling forward. Fusify likely to fall here. No piece sought by that Ohm there. And now it's Obey with 2 dead. They're gonna knock down this mid Phoenix just as it respawns. They've got a choice, could go for the Phoenixes, but instead gonna head back and pick up their second Fire Giant.
That is so incredibly rough for Burrito. What was once looking like such a promising game for them completely turned around from that initial Fire Giant fight of trying to just all in EmilZy but coming up short, and then Obey just counter-engaging so well. And that is just because of the veteran leadership on this team. Obey is such an experienced team. They really know how to fight into these uncertain scenarios and come out on top.
So did Burrito throw this game, or did Obey just make the right plays to get back into it?
A little bit of both, I would say. I wouldn't completely fault Burrito for saying that was entirely on them. Like, you never want to dump your kits solely into a Geb, because the mindset was a very strong one, and I do agree with it because it's been working for them. And so if it's been working and they've been able to find the picks, then great. It was just a really solid counter engage by Obey off of the shelf from EmilZy, just ensuring that everybody was tanked up, and then maniaKK, of course, just kind of doing what maniaKK's been doing all season.
Just doing solo laner stuff better than just about anybody. Absolutely. He's top of the player damage on his team, 2nd overall in the game. DeathPanter still claiming that #1 spot for the time being. Look at where Kespainify and Johnny's damage are. Very, very low on this chart, and a lot of that I think you can credit to Obey more so than take away from Kespainify. They have just been blinking into the back line consistently over and over again, and this Freya always the target.
I mean, this is kind of just what you want to see anytime somebody tries the risk route with the Freya. It's risk versus reward when you put that Hunter into the dual lane. Speaking of risk right now, it's going to be Obey risking it all, trying to go into this fight, and they're coming out on top so far.
Kespainify again, the focus, forced into the ultimate and forced back immediately. DeathPanter drops the ult, and Twig's going to get out of it with an ultimate of his own. maniaKK claims the first life. It's DeathPanter the first to fall. Sibi trying his best to disrupt on the backside. Twig with a nice ring bounce, and it's going to be Obey securing that left side Phoenix. Ataraxia is going to get a double kill for Obey's Hunter, 16 in total. And now it's Dzoni and Fusify trying to keep their hopes alive in this game, but they've only got a Phoenix left. They've only got 1 player as well. Obey weather the storm It was a spicy burrito taco, but Obey choked it down. They find the first game victory.
And that, like I said, it was incredibly well played by Burrito. Being able to watch as this team progresses throughout the split has been incredible. But
yeah.
I mean, it's Obey, and that's kind of that gameplay starting around the 18-minute mark and onwards. I think was just exceptionally clean from Obey. They really, really sharpened out those rough edges.
Realize what the problem was. Let's just kill Freya. No reason to let her kill EmilZy for them, and all of a sudden it was basically all Obey after that. This is a tough situation, especially for a new team where you looked like you were going to beat, the defending Spring Split champions, and then it all kind of fell apart. How difficult is it to kind of refocus in a scenario like this if you're Burrito?
If I'm Burrito, I'm kind of just taking on the chin. It's nothing to really feel too down about because they already know that there's no potential for them to qualify for Valencia. This is simply for pride right now. And so with nothing to lose, you might as well just keep going all in. They can just bounce back. I think that the team mentality overall should still be fairly intact.
Well, here we go.